Why does it do that? What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with another college football preview video this offseason. Before we get into the video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Sorry for the little tech issues. Um, Hold on one second. Anyway, sorry for the tech issues. I thought I had my microphone plugged up, and I have it plugged up. I didn't realize it was going to mute as soon as I started recording. Anyway, let's just go ahead and cut to the chase and get into the video. We're looking at today one in the Cincinnati Bearcats making their Big 12 debut this fall. Excited to see conference realignment in some ways. And I'll say this. I don't like the whole. I'm fine with group of five teams joining Power Five because that's where college football's at, is the Power Five, and the more the merrier. But what I'm not fine with conference realignment is swapping conferences in the Power Five. Um, like Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC. They're just going to have to deal with it. I guess I've kind of seen some positive, factors of them joining the SEC, but it starts this year, conference realignment. And what better way to start it off than talking Big 12 and Cincinnati joining from the American Conference? So, um, looking at their season last year, 9-4 overall. They lost to Louisville in the Fenway Bowl. They had a pretty good season. Started off with a 7-point loss to Arkansas on the road. They were able to stay in that game. Um, they beat Kennesaw State, Miami of Ohio. They're going to beat teams like that. But what got interesting was they played teams like Indiana, and they won in a blowout, 45-24. They won at Tulsa. They had their homecoming game against the USF Bulls, 28-24. They won it close. I don't remember watching that game, so I don't know if defense came up big or if they had to go down the field and score. But either way, they won it close. Pretty good game there. Had a bye week. At SMU, they won. They lost to Gus Malzahn and the UCF Knights, who is another Big 12 team this season. But they bounced back in a big way, beating Navy, East Carolina, and Temple before they lost to Tulane. And Tulane won 11, 10 games last year. Very phenomenal what they did. And they played in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, and they lost 24-7 against the Louisville Cardinals in Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts. So 9-4 overall for Luke Fickell in his final season. He's now at Wisconsin, bringing former Louisville coach Scott Satterfield, who has an okay record, but we'll see what he can do. It's not going to be the American Conference. It's going to be right off the bat, just like that. Power 5 football. That being said, let's go ahead and pull up the schedule for 2023 Cincinnati, and let's talk about it. So, can't really see my face. There we go. That's a little better. Eastern Kentucky. Then you got to go on the road at Pittsburgh, Miami of Ohio, Oklahoma, at BYU. Get a bye week early on in the season, October 7th. Would you rather have it then? Would you have it in November, mid-October instead of early October? I don't know what Cincinnati fans prefer. But off the bye week, it gets a lot harder. Iowa State, Baylor, at Oklahoma State, UCF, Knights, which is a Big 12 team coming in this year with Gus Malzahn as their head coach, formerly at Auburn. At Houston, at West Virginia, Kansas, and if they play their cards right on December 2nd, they will play in the Big 12 championship. I will say, I think of the four new teams in the Big 12, um, I do think Cincinnati is definitely that team in the best position. But again, with a new head coach, do they take major steps back instead of, you know, just a little small step back, because you're looking at Cincinnati and you're saying, well, they got a new head coach. They lost their quarterback recently. They've lost guys to the transfer portal. You're looking at Cincinnati and you're saying they've lost a lot, but they've also returned a lot of production, and it probably could do them service in the long run. Um, in the Big 12, I think of the four new teams, I do think Cincinnati is best in position um, to compete in the Big 12 of the four teams. What they bring back, D. Wiggins at wide receiver, 6'3", 195. Here's the interesting thing, though. Emory Jones comes from Arizona State, formerly at Florida as well. He's going to compete with Ben Bryant, who's a experienced senior, was the quarterback last year for Cincinnati, put up quite a few thousand yards and some touchdowns, a couple picks here or there. Ben Bryant versus Emory Jones for the quarterback position. Again, I'm no expert on Cincinnati, but I think looking back at last year and then looking into this season with a transfer like Emory Jones, I think that's probably what you're going to see as far as the quarterback situation goes for the Bearcats. I expect Cincinnati to do well. This season. I know that Cincinnati made the playoffs a few years ago with Luke Fickell. He's gone now. The most you can ask for in year one of Scott Satterfield, though, is that he gets you to a bowl game and possibly get you a bowl win to show that, yeah, he could probably run this program. I'm going to say this. I think that the trap games are on here. These are games you probably should win but could lose. UCF, Kansas, and Houston. You probably should win those games. Maybe Kansas isn't even a trap game, but these are the games where you probably will be favored. But if you're not careful, you could definitely lose. And again, we give a record prediction based on ceiling, not floor. The possible upsets. If they play their cards right, I see three upsets at Pitt, Baylor at home, and at West Virginia. And I just don't put every game on here. Could they upset Oklahoma? Could they upset Baylor and Iowa State and Oklahoma State? Absolutely. I think it's a given they'll probably beat Eastern Kentucky. If they lose that game, they're going to have a long year. They shouldn't lose games like Eastern Kentucky, Miami of Ohio, and no disrespect to those teams, but I really believe that Cincinnati is still in a prime position in college football. The question is, how do they handle the Power Five and handle a new head coach with Luke Fickell gone? I mean, Luke Fickell was offered the job at Wisconsin, and he took it. So I Cincinnati fans, let me know how you feel about Luke Fickell leaving you, because I haven't heard anything. Do you feel betrayed? Does it hurt? Do you wish him the best? That's what I want to know, is how did the Cincinnati Bearcat fans and nation react to Luke Fickell leaving Cincinnati? I think from Luke Fickell's standpoint, he's destined for bigger opportunities. He goes to a bigger program in Wisconsin. We'll preview them some other time. Back to the schedule, at West Virginia, at Houston, Kansas, 3 games right there, back-to-back road games. They have back-to-back road games only once this season. So, and they have a lot more, a lot of home games compared to what they have on the road. The trap games I'll throw in again: UCF, Kansas, and Houston. Games you should win, but probably will be favored. But you could lose these. Um, I expect them to win those games. The possible upsets you saw at Pitt, Baylor, and at West Virginia. They could also probably get Oklahoma, but I expect Oklahoma to do some big things this year with Brent Venables in year two. So I'm not going to list it as a possible upset. I just don't see it happening for Cincinnati. But again, anything is possible any given Saturday in college football. Uh, I'll go ahead and give you a record prediction. I'll make this video quick on you guys. I don't want to spend the whole rest of tonight talking about Cincinnati. By the way, let me know what teams you want to see me preview. We're trying to do every single Power 5 team in college football this season, throughout the off season before it starts back in September. So let me know what teams you want to see, and we'll get those squared off right away. Bearcats prediction 2023. I'm going to say at most, I probably should have gone 8-4, but I don't know. I don't see 8 wins. I see you getting barely past the 500 mark at 6-6. I have you going at most 7-5. I think that's reasonable. And the 5 losses that I picked out, I think you definitely lose to teams like Pitt. I think Oklahoma. I think BYU, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. Be glad and grateful that you don't have a team like Texas, Kansas State, or TCU on here. Because could you imagine if you swap like Houston and UCF or something? Like for one of those 3 teams I just mentioned, could you imagine if you swapped them? How much worse it could be? You're probably flipping that 7-5 to a 5-7. We'll see, but I'm gonna go 7-5 as their ceiling. I'm probably not giving them enough credit, or I'm probably overrating them. Again, this is a team that is unknown, but this is a team that is fun to predict in Cincinnati because of this season joining the Power 5 in the Big 12 conference. We look forward to seeing what they can do. And I want to hear from you guys in the comments. I want to hear what you think they're going to do this season. What would you say the record is? What's their ceiling? Did I miss any major details or minor details even about Cincinnati for 2023? I got to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. Y'all know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, like I say. And we'll see you next time. Until then, Ballard Sports Media checking out. Love you guys. And from a Bama fan, roll tide. We'll see you.